How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here. Wrestling Observer Radio, October 24, 2017. Figure4online.com/WrestlingObserver.com.
You're not going to shoot me. So he just held her down.
So Jeff Jarrett and Impact have parted ways. I guess there was a deal this weekend with Jeff Jarrett and some bookings that I guess had nothing to do with this, but whether they made their decision prior to this or not, they probably would have made their decision after this.
After this, they probably would have had to anyway, yeah. So I had heard last week that that Jeff was fired. And then I checked, and I was told, well, more or less it's true, but it hasn't been announced. Or, that is basically what I was told. So today it was announced. But what happened, so Jeff was going to work, he was booked for Real Canadian Wrestling for Friday night in Calgary, Saturday night in Edmonton. So he shows up in Calgary. He's a complete mess. Shouldn't have gotten in the ring, but, it's wrestling. They put him in the ring. After he told the promotion that he was held up in customs for 3 hours, and that they told him he had to go home early. So he was going to go home first thing Saturday morning, and he was going to have to miss Edmonton. And that's what. So after the show, he actually, and he was a mess. Like I said, he was a mess at the show. He passed out, apparently. He flew home, and then I guess the promotion called customs to find out why you would force a guy to fly out early, the next day, like make him have to fly out a day early. And customs said that they had no idea what, in fact, they're talking about. And they checked around and they found out that, in fact, Jeff simply rebooked his flight to go a day early. I guess he didn't want to go to Edmonton. Who knows what he was thinking or whatever. So, that was, but it was not a good sign at all. In fact, I'm actually pretty worried about Jeff right now. Because, it's like one thing, it's one thing to be, for guys to get like that after a match or something like that. That's not that unusual. But to be that way in the dressing room before a match is considered very unprofessional. And the one thing about Jeff throughout his career is that Jeff was always pretty much a professional. I mean, there's things you can say good and bad about him, but he's a charming guy and all that. He's got a little bit of that his father's streak in them. You know what I mean? That kind of Southern swerver and everything like that, charmer. But at the end of the day, I mean, Jeff was always a professional wrestler, and that's and the same thing. And the same thing happened in Mexico. When I heard about that, it's like that's just, you know what I mean? Like, to show up in no condition to perform. That's a real problem when you're like that. And this is like two major bookings. Well, this one isn't a major booking. Triple Mania is a major booking, but it's still, it happened. He, essentially lost his job over the Triple Mania thing, and evidently his situation is not gotten better and may have gotten worse.
New Japan has begun their junior heavyweight tournament. What's the update?
Yeah, junior tag team tournament. Today was the first day, so it was Yo and Sho beat Hirai Kawato and Kushida, and I did see that match, and it was a really good match. And Kawato reminds me so much in this match of watching Nobuhiko Takada at the same stage of his career, and Nobuhiko Takada ended up being like an all-time great. If you are not sold on Kawato and his future, if you watch this match, you will be. It was his best performance so far. I mean, he really, now that he was in the semi-main rather than like an opening match, he really was allowed to let go. In fact, the story of the match was him letting go. He was the excuse me, he was booked to be the star of the match, and he was. And when you consider that Kushida's his partner, that's saying a lot. But they had a hell of a match. The other match was Hiromu Takahashi and Bushi beating Dragon Lee and Teton. And I did not see this one yet, but I was told it was even better. And it's like Hiromu and Dragon Lee, who have as good a chemistry as any two wrestlers practically in the business. So, so they tore it up in the main event. So so it's going to be Hiromu and Bushi against Sho and Yo. This will be on Monday at Korakuen Hall. And then the other half of the bracket is on Sunday show. So it's going to be, what is it going to be? The Ryusuke Taguchi. It's Liger and Jushin Liger and Tiger Mask against Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Desperado, and Ryusuke Taguchi and ACH against Taichi and Taka Michinoku. So since you got two Suzuki Gun teams there that probably you're not going to want to put against each other, I think that probably I'm going to guess they'll go with Kanemaru and Desperado against Taguchi and ACH as the other semifinal. So it's Sho and Yo against Bushi and Hiromu. I don't know which way they'll go. They may have a hell of a match, though. Yeah, I don't know which way they'll go on the other side. We'll go Kanemaru and Desperado against Taguchi and ACH. I hope that they put Taguchi and ACH over. They may do that because they kind of need to get Taguchi and ACH over as a new team. So it would make sense for them to go to the finals. So the winner of the tournament, if Sho and Yo do win and lose to Taguchi and ACH, that would set up that match, that rematch for the November 5th Power Struggle. Sho and Yo are going to defend against the winners of the tournament, most likely on the November 5th show. So if they're not going to win, I mean, anything's possible. They can screw it, change the booking. But, usually their booking isn't like WWE in the sense that it's not so completely not making any sense. And in hindsight, it almost always does make sense. So, I don't know if that. So I don't know which one Sho and Yo are going to lose. If they're going to lose on, which show they'll lose on. Actually, you know what? I think the finals are November 5th. I take that back. So it wouldn't be that. So then it would be the championship match would probably be later in on another big show later.
You got some PWG notes.
Yeah. So we were talking about that the other day. So when we talked about the show on Sunday, and I said that the story was Chuck Taylor tearing down the top rope, so Ricochet couldn't do top rope moves, which, that makes sense, but that in fact was not the story. The story was that there was a match with Chuck Taylor and Zack Sabre where they tore the bottom rope off. So it's just like his gimmick is to tear the ropes down in these PWG championship matches. So that was the story there. And the next PWG is January 12th. There is no December show, so it is January 12th. And I know that Ricochet has told promoters that he's taking no bookings. I know he told Conan nothing after December 15th, but other promoters have been told nothing after the end of January. So he can come back January 12th for that show. So that's the way everything looks right now.
Alrighty, let's jump into the mailbag here. Mailbag at WrestlingObserver.com if you've got questions. Eric here says, I'm watching NXT Season 3 on the WWE Network because I hate myself, he says. But I gotta ask, why did they decide to make it a complete burial from the beginning? It was almost fascinating to see the lengths they went to bury every single diva involved.
Yeah. It's weird. That's all I can say. There's all the NXT shows were, those old NXT seasons were really weird. I mean, on the show with Bryan Danielson and the show with Low-Key, it's like the whole idea of the show was to rub it in the fans' faces that their favorites have no chance in the WWE. And it actually completely, the fans kept voting for Low-Ki to win anyway. And, they had to actually have Bryan Danielson, quit or get kicked off the competition because they were afraid he was going to win and they wanted Wade Barrett to win because they thought that he had more potential. And Wade Barrett actually did have potential and they blew it with him. But, and then Daniel Bryan, after all that, ends up being, one of the hottest stars they've had in the last 10 years. And on the other end, Low-Ki, they beat, constantly squashing him, and he kept getting more votes from the fans every week, even with that, and ended up winning. And then they brought him to the main roster and kept squashing him again. And didn't they make him, what was the deal with Layla and Michelle McCool? Remember that? Trying to destroy his character.
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah. They had it in for Low-Ki, that's for sure. I mean, it's like, I don't know, if I'm running a company and the fans really like a guy, I would kind of take that as a positive, as opposed to going the fans really like him.